everyone, Suzanne here. I hope you're all well and welcome to Sew Custom. Today's video is going to be how I drafted the pattern for this little number. So this is my crop jacket. I uploaded the making of this one, so the sewing up of this one last week. And in today's video I thought it might be useful to show how I drafted the pattern. So if you're interested in seeing that, then let's get started.
So starting with the tracing, I have my dress block on top of some fresh paper, and I'm just tracing the whole way around, making sure that I'm marking in all of my notches, my darts, my dart legs, bust line and waistline. And initially what I'm going to create here is a jacket block. I'm using the book Pattern Cutting Made Easy by Gillian Holman to help me out with this. So that's my tracing complete. I can now get on to actually creating the block. So I'm lowering the neckline by 3 millimeters, increasing the shoulder length by 1 centimeter, increasing the neckline by 1 centimeter and drawing in that new neckline. Lowering the armhole by 1.25 centimeters and drawing in the new armhole. Raising it at the shoulder point by 5 millimeters and then drawing in my new shoulder. I'm adding 5 millimeters to the center front and the side seams. And this is the block created, so you could stop here and use this as a starting point for any jacket pattern. For me, because I want to create a little crop jacket, I'm going to continue. So just labeling, and because this jacket is cropped, I'm going to reduce the length. So I've measured down from the waist 5 inches, and then within that 5 inches I've given myself a 1 inch hem allowance, and then I've just cut off the excess paper there and added 1 centimeter seam allowance the whole way around. And I want to move the dart from the shoulder to the bust, so I'm measuring down from the underarm point 2 inches and drawing in my new dart leg. I'm going to slash that dart leg to the apex and slash the shoulder dart to the apex. I'm then going to close that shoulder dart by laying one dart leg over the other. Make sure it's all nicely lined up, and you see here that then opens up the new dart position. So I'm just going to tape all that in place, making sure my pattern piece lies nice and flat throughout. And then to find the jug of the new dart, I'm just going to place one dart leg over the other, use my tracing wheel to run over the excess paper at the side seam, and what this gives me is that nice little triangle. So just cutting off the excess paper. And one last thing to do before my front pattern piece is complete, and that is to reduce the length of the dart. So I'm measuring in from the apex 2 inches and drawing in my new dart legs, and that's my front pattern piece complete. And now onto the back. So I have my back dress block on top of some fresh paper, and I'm doing the same as I did on the front, just tracing around, making sure that I'm transferring all markings. And before I create my block, I want to just remove the shoulder dart. So to do that, I'm removing 5 millimeters from the shoulder at both the neck and the arm. and then reshaping the armhole at the top and then just following the same steps as I did on the front. So I'm lowering the neckline by 3 millimeters, I'm extending the shoulder by 1 centimeter, lowering the armhole by 1.25 centimeters, and then drawing in my new armhole, raising the shoulder by 5 millimeters and drawing in my new shoulder and my new neckline. I'm adding that same 5 millimeters to the center back and the side seams. And this is my back block complete. And again, you could leave this here and use this as a starting point for any jacket you want to create. But for me, I'm going to continue with this patterning. So I'm doing exactly the same as I did on the front. I've measured down 5 inches from the waistline, and within that 5 inches, given myself a 1-inch hem allowance. And here I'm just drawing in my 1 centimeter seam allowance the entire way round. I have included a 1 centimeter seam allowance at the center back. This isn't necessary, I've just put it in so that this pattern's a little bit more versatile for me. So just labeling, and that is my back pattern complete. So I have my seam allowance the entire way around both front and back. I've moved my shoulder dart on the front to the bust. I'm ignoring the darts at the waist on both front and back, and I have my hem allowance there. So before I move on to patterning the lining, I want to just quickly make a mock-up of this pattern and make sure everything fits together nicely and it fits on my body nicely. So I've went ahead and done that, and I do have a couple of adjustments to make. So it's important to do that before cutting out the lining, otherwise you'll have adjustments to make to the lining and your pattern. So here the only adjustment I had was to reduce the shoulder length by 1 centimeter. This is quite a personal thing, so you might have different adjustments to do, but the 1 centimeter reduction at the shoulder was perfect for me. So here I've just traced out my adjusted front pattern piece onto some fresh paper, and I'm just popping in my dart and my notches, labeling, and now I want to create my facing piece for the front. So I've just measured in 5 centimeters from the center front, the whole way up and around the neckline. And rather than join the neckline and the front facing in a point, I want a nice smooth curve there. So I've used my hip curve to help me out, adding my labels to my facing piece, and then I'm going to separate the lining from the facing. I'm going to add some fresh paper in underneath where I've created that little gap. And add 1 centimeter seam allowance to both the lining and the facing. And then cut these two pieces out, and I have my front lining and front facing complete. And now on to the back, exactly the same thing here again. So I've just laid my pattern piece on top of some fresh paper, and I'm just cutting around to create a duplicate. I had one correction to make here, and that was to increase the neckline by 1 centimeter. In my patterning at the start, I missed that bit, and that's why it's really important to make a mock-up. And then the other was just one adjustment, so the same as I did on the front, so reducing the shoulder by 1 centimeter at the shoulder arm point. So here I've created my lining piece for the back. I just want to make sure that I've transferred all of my markings, so just the notches at my armhole. And now on to creating the facing. So the same as the front here, I'm just measuring in 5 centimeters from the neck the whole way around. I'm going to label that piece, and it, just like the back itself, will be cut on the fold. Separate the facing from the back lining, add in my 1 centimeter seam allowance to both pieces, and once that's done, that is my back lining and back facing complete. Done! So I have my front and back lining, my front and back facing. And then for the sleeve, I'm just using my tailored sleeve block, and all I'm doing is reducing the length. So I've taken 5 inches off the length of the upper and under sleeve and given myself a nice hem allowance there. So I now have my jacket front, jacket back, my sleeve for the outer, my lining front, lining back, facing front, facing back, and sleeve lining. And this pattern is complete. And once sewn up, it looks like this. I've done a video on how I've sewn this up. I shall link it below, but I love how this has turned out.
So I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed, please do, and I shall see you on Friday in my next one. Until then, I hope you have a fantastic week. Bye folks!